Hey, this is David T.S. Wood, and welcome to My Extra Mile. The show today is incredible. You know, if you want to be rich, if you want to be happy, you have to think and behave like rich, happy people. This woman is incredible. She's a multi-millionaire. She is incredibly happy and she's effective. So this is all about how she thinks and the things she does to create the success she has. Enjoy. I'm so excited to have you with me. Emily, hello.
Hello, David.
How are you?
Here.
Yeah, well, listen, we get to talk about the mind. And we have not sat and pre-talked. No, there's no notes sitting on my desk. We just said that, we both understand the mind so much. But before I let you talk about the mind, I want to go back to a time where your mind wasn't your best friend, because there was a time for all of us where we had to start doing the work. And take me back and tell me the story before the Emily that we see today that Yahoo says is top 10 to watch.
Yeah, it's so funny as you're saying all those things. I'm like, wow, that just happened overnight, right?
Yeah.
Oh, heck no! It's been a 10-year journey. Prior to finding Isagenix, I worked multiple jobs. I traded time for money. I was positive, but I still had a victim mindset. I'm going to go ahead and say tons of limiting beliefs. I grew up with a single mom in the Midwest, and, I found Isagenix, and that's the day my life changed. That's the day I started to develop as a person. Finally, I had people come into my life and teach me things and mentor me and give me books I never read before finding Isagenix, that's for sure. And that Emily, I remember it in my first year. David, I went to one of your events called Journey to the Stage.
I remember so clearly looking at you, because if people understood what I saw, you were scared of the mic, right?
Oh, I remember it vividly. My hands were sweating the whole time. In fact, I was a little peed off at my mentor, Holly. I was like, why did you make me go to this thing? Because I want to go to the events where I can just sit and like no one has to talk to me. That's what was my mindset that back then. And I remember walking in and everyone's like mixing around and we're supposed to meet people and then eventually talk on the microphone. And I wanted to leave throughout the entire day. I'm like, maybe I have to go to the bathroom right now. Maybe an emergency is going to happen. That was my mindset. What will people think of me in this room? What if I don't say it right? I don't have the confidence. All of those things. Who do you think you are to be in this room with these people? You just started. You're barely a consultant. Like, could you really do this? And that was the start. That was the start to just facing my fears.
Well, I talk to a lot of people about, because you're so well known around the world, and I train all over the world, and because people understand and watch you and follow you, I have to remind them, the Emily I met was not the Emily you see today, and that's the beauty of this journey. And we're going to explore the mind, and so much of what you've said, that sort of stinking thinking, that negative Nelly in our head, I call it the imposter. I haven't trained on the imposter for many years, but you talk about it where you're sitting there and your mind is in full attack against you. It's want you to go to the bathroom. It wants you to find reasons or excuses to get the hell out of there. Let's talk about that. Why is the mind so tricky? What have you learned about the mind that's so tricky?
Oh, well, I first of all, David, I didn't know that I could have control over my thoughts. I had no idea. I just let my mind control me. Okay. And then you taught me about the imposter, the idiot, and I'll never forget it. You're the first human on the planet that taught me the most significant things in my life. And it was all about the idiot, because my whole life he had been talking to me and keeping me from pursuing greatness. And when I realized, wow, like you can control your thoughts, and yes, it does take habitual practice over and over again, but to be, the first thing is to be aware. So finally, when you taught me about the imposter, this awareness came up, like, oh my gosh, you're thinking all these negative thoughts. And when I became aware, that's when I started to create the change.
Well, you know, and you talk about awareness is that big first step. So for people listening right now, let's sort of dive into the idiot or the imposter. And, you know, this is that negative voice in our head. And I always say there's kind of like two of us. There's our authentic, unconscious self, let's say, and then there's this conditioned self, you know, and the conditioned mind is the one that becomes our prisoner, because it's the one we hear, and it's the one that, and how do you tell the difference? And this is one thing I always want to give you, this way of noticing, is if it's negative in any way whatsoever, even if it's sly negative is where it just gives you that little seed of doubt. Do you really want to do this? You know, it's kind of like, it's not necessarily overtly negative, but it's enough negativity, enough doubt for you to slow down, stop, freeze, retreat, stay in your comfort zone. And so the higher self, the sort of the non-conditioned mind, you know, is pure. It believes in you. It supports you. It celebrates you. It's going to cheer you on. When you make mistakes, it's going to make you feel okay about it. Say, listen, you're just learning, kid. Get back up. So there's that other part of us that really is our cheerleader. But typically, Emily, and you go back to when you were sort of, you know, starting out with the work, is the imposter was so loud constantly that it drowned out that part of you that we see living today, right?
Right. Yeah. No, spot on. Yeah. It you know, and once I started to face my fears and, you know, shut up the little idiot that we all have chirping and feel the fear and do it anyway, that's when I realized what true fulfillment was. Because suddenly, you know, I remember you had me take the mic and stand in front of the room, and yeah, I wanted to wet my pants during the whole
I was so scared. It was really, I love it. Because I could visualize, what were we talking about, 2011, 2012? When was that?
2011.
Yeah.
But after the fact, and we all know it, after the fact, I was like 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I suddenly was like, that felt so good to move my life forward. That felt so good to step out of my comfort zone. And I became addicted to it, addicted to the sinking stomach feeling. And when that happens, David, I know that something great's about to happen. Like, I'm just like, okay, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And I wish I could tell all the viewers, like, that just goes away. I mean, you do become stronger and you gain confidence over time. Of course, experience is the best teacher, and practice makes practice. But you know, I still get those feelings, but I just shut it up way faster. And I remember who created me and what I'm called to do. And that's when I lean into it. And I love the feeling on the other side of it.
Well, we want to go back, because with the new mind, I mean, I want to talk about a couple of characters in the brain. You know, the one that you're talking about right now, which is what you felt with that microphone, and why I use the stage as really, it's a way of helping people feel these feelings and feel what's on the other side of it, like you talked about. And because most people have some fear associated with standing in public, or the fear of humiliation. But there's a character in the brain I call the psycho, which is the psycho-cybernetic mechanism. And what happens is, each time we cross the line of our comfort zone, and everyone's got a comfort zone, there's different sizes in different situations. In Emily's world back then, her comfort zone as far as talking in front of a room was tiny. So the very nature of even standing up was already outside of the zone of comfort, because she said earlier, what I want to do is sit at the back of the room and just, you know, not really engage with people and just take it in my way, right? So her being in a room that's interactive was outside the comfort zone. You add the microphone and a stage, and now suddenly we're going leaping outside. Now, even a tiptoe outside the comfort zone, this part of the brain, the psycho-cybernetic mechanism, psycho, sort of releases chemicals into the body, and they are interpreted as fear, apprehension, doubt, and uncertainty. Fear, apprehension, doubt, and uncertainty, which means this, that every single time we go to do something, whether it's building your Isagenix business and you picking up the phone, that's the same as picking up that microphone. That's why you get this feeling of fear, apprehension, doubt, and uncertainty. And what happens is, what Emily's mastered, and we're going to go back and decode it, is feeling those feelings. They haven't gone away. right? I felt it today, just having to interview you, because I respect and love you so much. I could feel it walking to the office here going, hey, you know, there's that little tingle, right? Right. And so what I want to do is give you this understanding then that each time we go outside our comfort zone and we stay outside of it and continue to practice, we get better. And we have the feeling that Emily talked about. It's like she felt something she hadn't felt before, because in opposition to the chemical attack, she stayed out there and practiced and got better. And that's what we have to do with everything, right, Emily?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, so spot on. Yeah, I know it sounds so easy, right? Like just lean into it and do it, but there is a level of all of us that we just have not tapped yet, and we haven't gone there. And when you start to do the things that make you want to pee your pants, make your armpits sweat, that is when you realize who God or the universe created you to be. And it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. Let's go back and say, when you first took these steps, we talked about the imposter. Because you talked about, you know, that you kind of beat it. You beat it at the game, because most people don't know they're in the game. They actually trust their thoughts. When you realize that sort of 70 to 80% of our thoughts are negative and repetitive, we think the same things over and over and over and over and over again, unless we actually go in and do some work and reprogram the brain. And the beauty is, Emily, as you know, with neuroplasticity now, science is showing us that we can completely rewire this noggin of ours. So it doesn't matter how negative we are, how poor we are, how unhealthy we are, we can rewire ourselves for ultimate success. So go back to that early stage when you started to have that negative voice. What were some of the techniques you used to quieten it? What were you doing to actually catch it and catch it at its job and then behave in spite of it? What were you doing?
A plethora of things. One of the first things I did is daily affirmations, I am statements, because I was constantly, whether it was conscious or subconscious, feeling unworthy. You know, I had all sorts of limiting beliefs. We all do. And so I am wealthy. I am beautiful. I took my favorite lipstick and wrote it all over my mirror, and I'd write it everywhere. I am a millionaire. I am constantly attracting high vibing people in my life. I am. And then, you know, another thing, David, it sounds so simple, but just really being mindful who I surrounded myself with. I have friends and had friends back then that they would stop me when I said I can't afford, or, you know, I would say certain things like, I'm not ready for that. And just constantly surrounding myself with people that were like, you are ready for that. Like, actually just do it. And that's why the power of our community, I mean, it's so vital that we surround ourselves with powerful people. So I would do that. I would, you know, obviously read a lot, you know, start to dive into great material by T. Harv Eker. I would listen to podcasts, things that would help me, you know, learn new practices. For sure, one thing, meditation. And for me, I'm a busy go-getter. My mind is.
I should say, you're standing up right now.
Yeah.
Because you're on calls. You've never been busier. This is during the COVID-19, and, you know, your business is taking off. As you know, the great thing about our profession, and we'll talk about that later, is that, you know, in times of struggle, we always explode, but not everyone does. The people that are doing the work explode. Like, so you're standing up because otherwise you'd be sitting the whole day reaching out to the world, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. You have to shift your energy. And so, you know, that's definitely something, you know, so starting my day today with even meditation and quieting my mind, because literally I look at this day and it is jammed. I'm so blessed. Okay. And I, instead of waking up feeling overwhelmed, all these low frequency type of emotions, what if this happens? What if that happens? Whoa, will I be able to eat? I don't know. Right. I started my day with meditation and I just quieted my mind and I came back to gratitude. I get to do all this. This is a privilege, right? And really just connected with the creator and, you know, set intentions for the day and how I'm going to show up for the day. And what I have found is when we quiet our mind, that's when all the beauty happens. That's when it's just you and God, and all of those negative emotions subside. And that's when I realized who I am and the power that I have. And if I don't do that, David, if I don't take time to be in prayer, to be in meditation, there's a significant difference in my day. Right?
Do me a favor. Let's just explore that so people have a tangible way. Because when you say meditate, some people think you got to crush your legs, sit there and and have a little bowl. Some people that have wigged out about it. And I've been meditating since I was 20. I do it in a very unorthodox way. But I wonder if you could lead us through, how long, how you do it, what's your practice, just so that someone can say, I want to copy that, because people like to copy success, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So some days it is a little different. I'll be walking and maybe just listening to some light music, and that doesn't have words in it. I should go ahead and say that. And it will be more of a walking movement meditation. Some days, I'm blessed to live literally on the Pacific Ocean is my view. So I will go down and meditate there for 10, 20 minutes. Or other days, it might just be in my bedroom. But the thing is, I feel like we need to say this now more than ever. One thing that I don't do is get out of bed and get on Instagram and get on Facebook. And I absolutely want to protect my mindset. And so those are some of the ways that I practice meditation. It looks a little different every day, but immediately after is when I grab my journal. And, I really learned this from you, David, and Kathy Coover, just to practice gratitude. And, I write down things that I'm grateful for. And I did this in the beginning when I slept on a mattress on the floor and had next to nothing to my name. I always started to practice that gratitude because it just fills you with so much love and so much positivity. So I do that. And then I look at my day and I, look at what's happening. I looked at this call. Oh my gosh, I get to talk to one of my first mentors in my life who's a legend. How am I going to show up for David today? And, I look at it all the way throughout the whole day, and I focus on what I can control and what I can't. And I really, run my day, and I don't let my day run me. And so meditation, prayer, gratitude, and then brain dump, and then let's attack.
I love it. And I love the fact you used different, because some people say I don't have the time. Well, you do have the time to walk. You have the time to quieten the mind. I love water as well. And water is a great sanctuary for me. Even in the shower, I'll find that, practicing gratitude in the shower, because as soon as that water hits my body, I live on a lake. But just taking or making places special, like you talked about, sometimes you just go and sit somewhere. And the very nature of having somewhere you sit in reflection, when you get there, your body's already anticipating the reflection. You're already going into this place subconsciously. But I want to go back again to when so you have these great daily rituals. And I love the fact you talked about the phone thing. I always say that if you really want to see a change in your life, try leaving the phone outside your bedroom, because we use it as alarm clocks. But go buy an alarm clock and just leave it somewhere else. So when you wake up, there isn't that urge to look at or scroll through or answer any of that noise. You really are in your own sanctuary, whether you live in a tiny apartment in New York or whether you're living out on the coast. I do want to go back and say, though, when you used to catch yourself in the beginning with any practice like meditation, all this noise comes running in, and it's not like you always are able to get a quiet mind. Sometimes, you can't shut it up. But in the beginning, when you start noticing the negative stream of language going through, or the negative doubts, when you caught them, because, you had this awareness, you were starting to reprogram through affirmations, through prayer, through meditation, and through great rituals, gratitude. But it's still there. The noise is still there. And sometimes it gets turned up really, really high when you had to pick up a phone and talk to someone, or whether you had to go in front of a room and talk to a group. How did you reprogram? What were some of the daily little notices? So if you heard a word coming in, so for me, one of my early practices was to eliminate all negative, low energy words from my vocabulary. So you rarely, if ever, hear me use the word need or can't or hate. And I have this whole word. So if I like you said, I get to choose to be busy. I choose to have a full day and connect with people all over the world. Oh God, I need to talk to like 25 people today, right? Different energy.
Yeah, so, I get to.
Yeah. So let's go. Tell us how you, some of the notices and some of the early things you did to reinforce and create the new neural pathways, because that's what you've done. You went from having a negative neural pathway, think of a highway, and the more repetitive negative thinking we have, the thicker these neural pathways are, and they just end up running our lives. You know, the doubt, the uncertainty, the insecurity, the judgment, that all comes from this repetitive negative thinking. And then what you've done is you've created a whole new highway and you guard it. There's guardians that say, hey, we don't let negative crap in here ever, right?
Yeah. No, we're not entertaining that yet. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And it happens every day. Like yesterday, I was trying to calm myself down after an epic day, but I found myself feeling feelings of uneasiness in the best of way. I'm so grateful, but I just was like, Emily, you got to chill out. And so I took my dog on a walk, and it took me longer to breathe, okay, plan on what I was going to do in the evening to kind of calm down a little bit, to go through that, to change my state a little bit. I took some Ionic Supreme for sure. But when I'm in meditation, all the time it happens, all the time. Like my mind will divert to one area. And I'm like, why am I thinking about that? I don't want to think about it. So I come back. I come back to love, and I come back to what I want to think about. And I come back to, you know, just trying to neutralize whatever's coming up and focus on what I want, not what I don't want. Focus on breathing in, breathing out. That's why, David, I know you're like a guru, but I'm a little bit more amateur in the meditation space. I'm getting better, but guided apps really do really well for me, because when the mind does go crazy, it's like you're able to just listen, focus on the app. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
and they're free. I mean, like anyone listening, if they want to get a new meditation practice, and we're saying this is one of the building blocks to Emily's great mindset is the work, and this is one of those pieces that you can listen on your phone if you have to, but you can listen to a guided meditation anywhere for free, which is awesome, right?
Right. And in the power of the words, you know, can't. That one was huge for me, and still is. And so when I say it, instead of just saying it and going, oh, I just said that, I correct myself. And that has been major for me. So when I used to say I can't afford, then I would change my language. I can afford. You know, I would just start changing my language right then and there. Even if I was talking to a different person that might think I'm a little weird, like, why did you just correct yourself? I didn't even call you out on anything you said. I would correct myself so I would get better. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's the practice. The practice is awareness is key. We catch it, we revert it. I mean, catching the negative word and then replacing it. And the more you do it, you listen to high frequency people, and you will rarely hear a low frequency word coming out of their mouth. And because they're aware of the price we pay. If I say can't, I can't, right? There's so many. I mean, there's the famous story of the Barnum and Bailey circus where, and this was in 1963, I think it was, where 12 elephants were actually killed in a big top fire. And they were tied by a little tiny rope to a railing. But because how they train an elephant is they start off with huge chains when they're babies, and they drive big stakes into the ground. And these babies pull and pull and pull. And after just a few days, they stop pulling. And that's why an elephant trainer that can then use a little tiny piece of rope, and they can put a little tiny pin in the ground, and the elephant will no longer pull. That's what our mind does. And what happened that day, the fire happened, and the elephant stood there, and they were all killed because they didn't believe they could break this little piece of string. It's crazy, right, Emily?
Oh, crazy. Yeah.
So let's go into sort of next steps as far as when you struggled. So along the way, what have been some of the struggles that you've had to overcome through this mindset? What were the things that you were deeply struggling with, so that people who are listening say, oh, that sounds like me. That's where I was struggling, right?
Yeah. Learning new skills. Network marketing, it's boiled down to 7, maybe 8 skills. So learning all of those new skills that I had never done before. I went to school for massage therapy. So, you know, growing through that and practicing that from asking someone to take a look, to how do I cast a vision, to how do I deal with rejection, to one of the main parts for me was drawing out the compensation plan. I was like, I'm not sure how to do this, and that freaked me out. And then getting in front of a room, whether it was a room of 3 people or a room of 100 people, that freaked me out. And so I'd say that, my gosh, someone would return their box freaked me out. Asking for the sale freaked me out. I mean, well, let's just count all the things that freaked me out. A lot of things, right? But I just
everything that took you outside your comfort zone, right? Because they're all new. So as soon as you go to do them, they're outside the comfort zone, right?
Right. Yeah, but I just continued to feel the fear, feel how uncomfortable it was. And, what helped me move forward, David, is I would always ask myself, if I don't do this, then what will I do? If I don't do this, how am I going to get to my ultimate dreams? If I let fear take a hold of me, then how am I going to get to where I want to be? And so with that little thing in the back of my mind, I was just like, okay, do it anyway. Just do it anyway. Just have one foot in front of the other. And then I would do it and I would gain more confidence with it. And then, like I said, it becomes addicting. And then you're like, wow, this isn't so bad. This actually feels really good. And over time, I would watch, sometimes video even, or I get feedback from people that I trusted. And I was like, oh my gosh, how was that? And they're like, actually, this part was great, but this part, you need help, girl. And so, just taking in that feedback. And so that's how I just became better at it. And then, it's the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, right? So it's like,
you said something there, which is big for a lot of people, is, you were in the process of growing your skill set and willing to take feedback. What a lot of people do, they'll start. I mean, look at this. Everyone who's listening has the same opportunity, same compensation plan, same products. There is no kind of magic thing that you had. You were, afraid of this. It wasn't going to be your natural thing. You've been trained as a massage therapist. Now, I believe you're a 7-figure income earner, right? You earn over $1 million a year, right? Yeah. Hello, right? I'm just saying, but a 7-figure income earner, and you're so young, and you're still doing the work. It's not like you've kind of arrived, even in your language earlier, you kind of still have this real sense of being a student of life and not like a master. And I think that's why so many people gravitate towards your style, is this authenticity that is, you hold people to a higher standard, but you understand the journey, right?
100%. School's never out for the pro, and I'm constantly learning and growing, and I make mistakes every day, and I learn from my mistakes, and I feel pain, and I still feel all the things that you're maybe experiencing, but I just don't live there, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk to me about as you've sort of grown into this profession, as so people are listening right now, we're talking about the mind, that there is ways of conditioning the mind, but one of the great ways is through action, right? It's kind of like ready, fire, aim, not ready, aim, fire. It's ready, fire, aim. And you've talked about that as you kind of get into the action, notice what's working, build on what's working, and then get feedback, and then continue to develop. Talk to that new person again, because they're going to get off this academy and they're going to learn from so many great people, so many great trainers, and some of them are going to do something with it and some will not, right? Some will get stopped by the first obstacle and some will become bigger than the obstacles and continue moving forward. How do we help those that may be, hitting that first obstacle and already self-doubting themselves, already thinking this isn't for me, I can't do this? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and it happens to every one of us. It's like we get this fire hose of information, and it's like, okay, that sounds good, and wow, and wow, and wow, and then you go with your notebook, and it's like you just look at all this stuff, and you don't know where to start. And the thing is, our business boils down 80%, my friends, is talking to people and getting people to take a look and getting people started. 80%. So what I have found is most people they don't embrace the suck. Okay, it does suck. If initially it does. And what you've got to do, instead of making up all this other stuff that you want to take precedence over contacting people and doing the main thing of the business, okay, that's going to in turn develop your skills, you come up with all these other things instead of actually doing it. And when you do it, here's the thing that happens, okay? Action neutralizes negative emotions. So we all have those emotions, the fear, the comparison, all the low frequency things, sometimes anger, you're mad at your upline, whatever, all these negative emotions. If you would just take action and talk to someone and do your first 3-way call and start to do the main parts of the business, you're going to neutralize all these negative low frequency type of feelings, and you're going to have more energy, and energy creates more energy. And that's when you learn through experience. And so, watching this is so powerful. I'm so proud of everybody for watching this, but it's what you do after that counts. And we know that. And so what I love to do when I learn new things, whether I'm taking a course, I'm learning a new method of working out, I then schedule it, David. Like I schedule it in. Like even now I'm learning like a new massage face technique, and I'm taking a whole course on it. It's like this ancient thing. It's just so cool. It's like random. Okay. But anyways, I'm taking a course on it. I want to, because it's something that I want to learn, something random that I feel like I want to learn, but I have to schedule it in. I got to schedule in when I'm going to do it, when I'm going to apply it, and all that good stuff. And so that's what my recommendation would be, is scheduling your work at time, scheduling when you're going to do your IPAs, your income producing activities, and then it becomes real. Because otherwise it's just a thought. It's just this whimsical, hey, I just was on this whole ISA Academy. I just listened to all this. Yay. I just posted on social media, but then you don't do anything with it. And that sucks when people don't do anything with it. So schedule it in, and then have someone hold you accountable and say, here's what I'm going to do. And when you start and you actually move forward, that's when you can't stop.
And that's such a great thing, is, not just embracing the suck, but scheduling in the things you suck at to practice. So you're actually in there saying, the reason it's in my schedule is because I know that I want to master this. And you said this earlier, there's kind of 7, 8, some could argue 9, real skills that we have to master in order to become a professional network marketer. But then you talked about the 10,000 hours. I wonder, how long was it from the day you started to the day you felt really more comfortable, where you kind of really were in the business, but instead of being afraid of it, you were kind of immersed in it? And then how long was that until you sort of started to feel like you really were a professional network marketer? What's that journey look like?
Wow. Well, first year, and I was all in. And so don't compare yourself to me or anyone, but I was all in my first year. Meaning, I was going for building to executive status, but the most I ever cycled the first year was 10 times at the most, which is significant, but that was me full all in. So I would say, by year 2, I started to feel more comfortable a little, but
But you obviously, just to be clear though, that year 1, you put thousands of hours of work in. It wasn't like it was just a year, or hundreds of hours of work, right?
Thousands. So, I had my old desk, my vision board up with my whiteboard, books, stacks of books. I didn't purchase anything. I didn't purchase new clothes. The money that I had went back to Isagenix events, or growing my business, or traveling to team. Really. And so that's how my life looked my whole first year. I would get up in the morning, do my routine, do my workout. And then, I would try to reach out to people, get rejected a lot all throughout the day. And then at night, I would visualize, on my couch, I remember it vividly, I would visualize a tree, our Isagenix tree, and I would visualize the branches and people, and all these people coming in, and different, backgrounds of people, different religions of people. And I all day long, I would just daydream, David. That's like what I had to do to keep me going. And that year was the best / most difficult year of my life. And that year is what formed me. You know, it was that year. But then becoming a real professional, I would say I started to really feel like that by year 3, year 4.
There's thousands and thousands. You've already passed the 10,000 hour mark by then, because you were all in, and your output. I mean, because that's why I always say, be careful. Don't use time as your marker. If I ask you how many conversations you've had since you started, or how many conversations you had that first year, it's a better way for you new people listening. You say, well, I've already been in a year. Well, because we don't compare yourself to anyone, but if you are in comparison, don't compare your start to Emily's middle, right? Because Emily, how many conversations do you think realistically you had about Isagenix that first year, if you had to guess?
Thousands.
Right?
I mean, and a lot of them were repeated. You know, it takes 7 to 10 times before someone signs up. So it's just, that is what I was really good at, is focusing on who am I talking to today about Isagenix, and not spending a lot of time on social media, you know, just waiting for someone. I went and talked to people.
Awesome. Let's talk about this other part, which you mentioned briefly, which is the environment piece. I realize, you know, if we look at the process of manifestation, you know, environment leads to thoughts, leads to feelings, leads to actions, leads to results. And so the results are the sort of the universe's immediate feedback on what's working. Because if you look into your bank account, it's empty, that's a result. If you look in the mirror and you don't love what you see when you're naked, that's a result. You know, and all of these results, you know, come back and stem from the environment leading to the thoughts, feelings, and actions. And our blueprint, our financial blueprint, our health blueprint would be our thoughts, feelings, and actions around anything. That's the blueprint part, right? Go back and talk about this importance of environment, and how were you able to move away from negativity and negative people, or be around them and not be consumed by them? Because I can be around negative people all day long now, and it doesn't, their negativity is so small compared to my positivity that I just don't get drawn into that kind of world. But talk to us about that. How did you navigate the environment part, and how have you created an environment that allows you to live the life you lead?
Oh, so good. Well, at first, when I started to get around our community, I was like, why does this feel different? Why? I feel so loved here. I feel energy. I don't know why. And then I started to become aware. Awareness is key. I'm like, this is because these people choose to live their lives differently. They live at a higher frequency. They choose to live in gratitude. They're focusing on what they can control, not what they can't control. And so in the beginning, I was like a little baby, and I didn't have the willpower and the drive and the mindset I have today, where same thing, David, you could throw me in with the wolves, you could throw me in with anybody, and I can handle it. I'm like, I can handle you. Doesn't mean we're going to hang out, but I can handle you for a minute, you know? But in the beginning, I was weak.
You're a sponge, right? You sponge up everything around you, right?
Yep. So I consciously made an effort to stay away from people that didn't support me. They didn't support me for being me. Like, they made fun of me. They're stinking thinking. Their mindset was horrendous. And so I really had to limit my exposure to those people. And I intentionally, which is one of the greatest parts about Isagenix is our culture, I intentionally surrounded myself with people that were on a similar mission. And, you know, that is what really changed the game for me. You know, it was driving to events and talking about our dreams and ideas, and, you know, talking about things we can control. And, you know, that was it, changing my surroundings in that first year. But I will tell you, yes, of course, we still have to come in contact with people who are negative, who don't think the way we think, of course. And, you know, my thing is always to love everyone. I believe like that's like what we're called to do on this earth. And I'm never above anybody. I think differently, but I'm not above anyone. And so I choose to just love people, love them. And if I have a moment where I can, you know, give them a different perspective or coaching, I will. But one of the best things, David, I found that I could do is just lead by my own example.
Yeah. Yeah.
And inadvertently, it causes people to want to change.
Well, it's the osmosis effect, which I love, is that you being you, doing you in such an authentic way, people around at first can be intimidated because your light shines so brightly, but because of your intentional love, and I see it, feel it, sense it when I'm around you, and that's what drives me, is this capacity to love all people, and including the negative people, because they're quite often, if you go back to why people are negative, it's because of the environment they grew up in, the thoughts they're thinking, the feelings they have, the actions they're taking, and they live in this negative world. And all of us can find a pathway out. And like you said, our culture plays such a huge role in that. But if I go back and ask you a more pointed question, there's someone listening right now, or maybe it's a woman, maybe it's a man, and they have a negative person living in their home, either by marriage or maybe it's children or maybe it's grandparents, but they actually are embedded with a negative stream. What's some of the advice you'd give to that person who's saying, well, listen, it's all right for you to say all this, but I happen to live with this most negative guy on the planet, right?
Wow. Yeah. And through my years, I've had so many people come to me with this. And what I always say is, you do you, live by example. Doesn't mean you got to be like them. But what I would recommend, and this is what I've done, is I subtly try to get people to grow. And what I mean by that is, like, here's this good book. Do you want to read it? It's so good. Like, you should look at this. Or me here in LA, I go to this church. It's very chill, non-denominational. And so I might actually find someone and say, do you want to come with me? Or it might be an Isagenix event. Do you want to come with? So I subtly, because nobody likes you to come at them and be like, you need to change, you suck, blah, you're stinking thinking. Like, any person is going to feel like completely violated by that. And so subtle changes, I have found, I have done this with my own family, my own siblings, where I subtly invite them in and I let them have their own growth experience and growth journey, not mine. Right. And so I let them experience that. But I also, I do believe that there is time, and this probably isn't the most popular answer, but there might be a time where you grow beyond certain people. And if they're not willing and ready to step up to the plate and grow themselves and take personal responsibility, then you staying there is going to hinder your growth. It just will. And for me personally, I feel such a big calling on my life that I am doing a disservice to our Creator if I stay around people that continually drain me. And so that's when you got to get quiet and ask yourself the hard questions, and not that you're going to ever shun that person from your life, but really look at the relationship for what it is. And ask yourself how much time is invested and what can I do to change it. And then I think the last thing I'll say is communication is the best. So maybe sitting them down, and I did this when I started Isagenix. I did not feel supported by any of my family. I'm the only one that didn't go to college. Like, I just felt like they were all talking about me. I just had weird feelings. And so I sat them down and I said, hey guys, like, this means so much to me, and this is why it means a lot to me. I would really appreciate if you would support me and just really try to understand what I do, because we are a family. And like, my brother's a pilot. I'm like, I love what you do. And I love, I support you when you, deploy to serve our country. And my sister's a teacher. I was like, I love hearing about your kids in your classroom, and I love supporting you, but no one's ever supporting me. And that's how it feels. And I expressed that to my family, and they were all like jaw on the ground. They had no idea that they were making me feel that way. And now they ask me questions. And so communication, David, I think
I love that. Well, that, again, that's that courage part. I think there's three parts I want to dissect, because, I'm not an advocate for divorce, but I am an advocate for happiness, like you said. And there is that crossroads you get to where, look at your relationship and say, hey, this isn't changing. But I think that what I've noticed with people who have a negative person in their house is they just simply become negative themselves, and they're kind of anticipating the negativity. So they just always coming. I would say you're either affecting people or you're infecting people. But one of the things to look in the mirror and see, how do you show up? What is your, because when you start changing how you're thinking and then you start to show up and you start to communicate to people about the best part of them. Because if you've got someone around you, quite often, because there's another character in the brain called the reticular activating system, which is, when we're continually thinking negative thoughts, then we create an awareness. Our mind will actually find the negativity we think about and show it to us all the time. So that's why two people can stand side by side and one person can look out and say, oh my God, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And somebody standing right next to them and say, I think it's going to rain. The weather looks crappy, because their RAS, their reticular activating system, is making them aware of what they're predominantly thinking. So if you've got a negative person around you, quite often you have a negative stream of thoughts about them. One of my practices is to write down 5 things that I really, really love about this person. Even people that are jerks, there is great things. They have a great sense of humor. Oh my God, they're a great father. He could be a complete asshole, but there's these qualities. What I do then is I focus on the qualities, and I train my brain not to sort of to notice the thing that I dislike, and to start to really communicate with the part that I really like. And what I found is most times people elevate to the part of my thinking, versus, because I'm communicating with a part, and they can feel that subconsciously, they feel the care and the compassion or the love that I'm emitting. And I know this sounds very, very woo-woo, but I think, Emily, you get this, right? That when we put out, we do get it back. But we have to go first. It's not like we can expect the hubby to go first. If he's, we have to go first, and then we can start to affect instead of infect.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic. No, for real. You may think it's woo-woo, but you practice it and you become the leader. You just have to, when you're living a life and taking personal responsibility, you just become the leader. You go first. You kill them with kindness first, and you get what you put out. It's so true. It's absolutely so true. And I have found, even if someone's negative, if I just hug them and tell them I love them, it's just, you just watch their expression, and you watch them just put their guard down and unravel. And it just takes you being the bigger person to do that.
I tried something when I was in Italy. I was sitting in a little coffee shop outside in one of these little back streets. And I believe in this so much, the power of the mind, right? And all I do is I'd pick somebody and I'd start to follow them, because a lot of people would sort of be sitting or wandering around, and I'd notice them and I would just keep thinking really great thoughts about them. And on 3 different occasions, that person came and sat down with me. I know it sounds unbelievably weird. I get it. But that, to me, is that the intentionality. I mean, I want to talk to you about that. Is that what I see with you is you live with intention. You're intentional. Even the fact you're standing up today, you're intentional about your day. You're intentional about your energy. You're intentional about your mind, what you're thinking and what you're putting out. Your intention about your health. So there's this intentionality with you. Why don't we sort of, because we haven't got long left on this particular mindset show, but why don't you talk a little bit about that, the power of intention and the role intention plays in great thinking and in great mindset?
Oh, so good. Yeah. Everything I do, there's intention behind it. Intention to get better, intention to grow my business. Every single day is filled with massive intention, because what I've found, if there's no intention, we're not just going to fall to the mountaintop, right? We have to plan. We have to plan. When are we going to stop? When are we going to take breaks? When are we going to have water? Did we plan our snacks along the way on the top of the mountain? And so that's how I look at my life. And first, we've said it 10 times on this call. It's the awareness factor. It's what do you want? What are you going for? And then reverse engineering it and setting up your intention. And it all boils down to the little baby things that maybe you don't think matter, but they all add up and they create the big thing. And so, I look at everything in my day from how I treat my body to how I treat my mind, my daily practices. I know how I'm going to feel on the other side of that. So I have massive intention of what I'm going to do. Same with my business. You know, I have always known, and being in this profession for almost a decade now, I'm not just like randomly doing Isagenix. Like, I have massive intention and specific goals. What's the goal? What am I trying to achieve here? What's the next level? So that way I don't just wake up a year from now and be like, oh, nothing happened in my business this year. I wonder why. Oh, because there was no intention behind it. So it's that specific intention. So if I know, hey, I want to get to this level, I'm going to have to reverse engineer it. And then I'm going to have more conversations. And I'm going to have to create consultants if you want to get to executive. I'm talking to you. And so you're going to have to know, you know, my ultimate intention is this. Okay. But then what am I going to have to do to get to my ultimate intention? Right. And so it's just so powerful to live life with intention. How do I, you know, want to make people feel? Like, am I the type of person that I, you know, walk into a room and I have some conversations and people feel like they need a shower after they're next to me? Or do they feel more excited and they, you know, there's
Feel like they've been showered, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so I just choose to live every day, and I ask God every day to just use me. I'm like, use me up, like use me for the greater good of humanity. Like, just take, like, whatever I'm supposed to do, just do it and I will do it. And I just surrender to that. And my intention is to create change on the planet. And I'm very clear on that. And when you speak it and when you believe it, it's just like the universe just conspires in your favor. And you know, I just choose to live life by design rather than by default. I'm not just going to like roll through the day. I've always said this, even before this happening right now, I've always said, this is my economy. Like, I'm not going to let the world dictate what happens. And I know some of you are like shocked that I might say that, but I've always had that attitude. It's my economy. It's what I can control. So it's just a different mindset. I hope that kind of makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so again, we're getting quite close to the end here, but I think about those three elements of success: right vehicle, right time, right you. We spent a lot of time talking about the right you, you know, that mindset and environment, you know, are critical, and they can be changed. But it is a daily practice. If you want a clean mind, you know, you got to practice, and you got to practice on an intentional practice over time. And every single mind on the planet can be exactly what we want it to be. Science shows us that, neuroplasticity. But the right vehicle, right time. There's never been a greater time for Isagenix. There's never been a greater time because, you know, we always flourish. Our profession flourishes in a down economy because people are looking for change. We're seeing right now a forecast of 800 million jobs disappearing over the next, you know, 5 to 10 years. We're looking at, you know, the uncertainty around the virus that's here right now, and people are really taking serious looks at having a plan B, because now they realize they thought they were secure, but suddenly everything was taken away and they don't want to be in that predicament again. So why is this the right vehicle? Why has this become your home? Because some people have left. I mean, friends of ours have left. People we know well. And, you know, and I always, there's a part of me that always, my loyalty meter goes off a little bit, and that I struggle with that when people leave, especially if they have teams, but I do understand it. It's one of those things. But what I notice when I look at someone like you, I see absolute certainty in the vehicle. And that certainty is so sexy, and it's so attractive to bring to you what you want. Talk about that then, the right vehicle, right time. Why is this the right time? Why is this the right vehicle?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it spot on. Typically when the economy goes tanks, we do very well. I look at, you know, even I came in 2010, a lot of my upline, nobody had network marketing experience, none of us. And we were all attracted because we kind of had to be. Let's just be honest. And that's what's happening now, is people are forced to take a look. People are realizing through all this, I don't have a plan B income. I don't have a what if fund. And people are now aware, because awareness is key, that they need and must do something. And so when I look at network marketing, and specifically Isagenix, it is set up for anybody to come in and be able to crush it if they put their mind to it. Obviously, you need to learn the skills. You need to be hungry to do it. But all of the things in business that, gosh, cost a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources are all done for us. And I think we know that, but let me just remind you, from the payments to product distribution, to product formulations, to events that we have, our world-class events, to these trainings, all of those things are done for you. Okay. And that, I mean, I've talked to my friends who are entrepreneurs and how much money they've invested in different businesses to, $500,000 to $1 million and then some. Some of you have been watching can experience it, where you can come in to Isagenix. It's already set up for you. Okay. You're coming in and you're purchasing your products, and then you're a business. So you're eating your overhead, which is absolutely brilliant. But take a look at specifically now, health and wellness is shining a light like it's never shined before. Because in a downward economy, we all still eat food, right? We all still eat food. And so this isn't a luxury item. This isn't a service-based company. It's food. It's real nutrition that every human on the planet needs. And that's why I absolutely love it, because we get consumable. We have consumable products. We're consuming it. Emotional, you get emotional from how you feel, and it's visible of how you look. And so, the health and wellness sector, and I know Paul Zane Pilzer, he's a world leading economist, and he talked about this a lot, the next millionaires. He wrote this book a few years back talking about the wellness revolution, and it's alive and well. And it's a matter, David, of what company are you aligning yourself with that's going to be able to take you to the income you want to grow, but also to feel really good about it, to know that it's going to be here. And believe me, I mean, I speak on behalf of the network marketing profession. I have seen companies come and go and come and go and come and go. And the difference with Isagenix is our leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And you look at the Coovers and who they are and their experience, and everyone, just like David and I are talking about the power of our mind and the power of the environment, you look at everyone they've surrounded themselves with, it's the best of the best. And we base our company on values, core values. We've got them, and every single decision we make, and I know this because I've been on the field advisory board, I am on the field advisory board right now, is all about us. It's all about the associate. And you cannot say that with many companies. Usually it's about how much money is going to come in. And we truly, look at, innovation is one of our core values. Leadership development is one of our core values. That's why we're on this right now. We care more about developing people. Family is our core value. And, you can feel it especially when you come to an event. But even now on the academy and just getting involved in our culture, you can't bottle this up and manufacture it and sell it on the shelf. Like attracts like, and it brings in some of the most beautiful people on the planet. And it's just like anything in business, there's highs and lows. And, I always say leadership doesn't know a season. And I am committed to Isagenix. And my mindset around Isagenix is a partnership. It's not them and me, it's a partnership. And so I'm willing to get the ball in the end zone because of that mentality of I'll die for you and you'll die for me. And when you have that loyalty, like it just, you're going to win. But when you decide to blame somebody else because your check isn't growing because of X, Y, and Z, good luck. Like, that's what I have to say to that. Like, if you can't build here, I don't know where you're going to be able to build.
Well, the thing that I think a lot of people don't know is you take yourself with you. And what happens is if you're not if we go back to the beginning of the call and the whole idea about being outside your comfort zone and how you spent so much time out there developing your skills. And again, we're only talking about we could argue between 7 and 9 skills, really, to become a master network marketer and to have $1 million income. If you wanted it, obviously you have to have the thousands and thousands and thousands of conversations and endure thousands and thousands of no's as part of that journey. But I think that, when we look at this idea of, blame, and so I'm sitting there, I'm looking, I've got the same things, and someone may call and say, hey, it's easier over here. Come over here, it's easy. And because we're not doing as well as we think, we consider it. But that, to me, just so last note on this, is that's where, realizing if I take myself away from this, the same struggles, the same obstacles will still exist over there. And I may be walking away from something which you talked about, which I think is our greatest asset, our culture. And that's why when I reached out to you and say, Emily, are you prepared to come on and share your wisdom and your knowledge to this group of people? And your answer is, even on your busiest day, where you're standing up the whole day because you've got so much to do, that you just say yes. And so I want to just turn it back for a last thought. We've spent an hour now talking primarily about mindset, very, very simple strategies that worked for you. They worked for me. The same strategies you adopt, I adopted. Every one of our friends who are successful, who have great incomes and great lives, they adopt the same philosophies. It's not like there's a hidden part. It's like, well, Emily's told you 80%, but she's keeping secret 20% because she wants to win. No, she wants to give you everything. So just last thought, as they're going to push stop on this, and in a moment, they're going to be sitting there in a quiet room, wondering what to do with it. What's your thoughts?
Okay. This is so beautiful. I love this. I love you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what I want you to do is just get quiet. We got to get quiet. And I want you to visualize a life. Really go there with me, because I know right now you're resisting this. You may think we're woo-woo, but please do it. Visualize, what would your life look like if time and money were no longer an issue? And really go there. Like, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it smell like? What would it taste like? What would you do if you could create your day? You could design your life. And really go there. And I recommend like playing a song for 3 minutes and do it the whole time and visualize it. And then grab a notebook and write it all out while it's fresh in your mind. And it could be the simplest things. Like, you're at the grocery store buying whatever you want and you check out and you don't even look at how much it costs, right? It could be buying a plane ticket and sitting in the sand of Fiji and experiencing something there. It could be literally anything. Bringing your kid to their soccer camp that's the best in the nation and you don't even care about how much it costs. It could be just waking up when you're done sleeping. It could be anything, but I want you to really get crystal clear on it, write it down, and then at some point, which should be soon, make a vision board, write it out loud, but then put it to life, make a vision board. Then from there, it's time to take action, because none of those things are going to come true if you don't take action. So I would just start scheduling in your income producing activity, go to work like your life depends on it. Some of you it does. And just keep imagining, if I don't do this work, I'm never going to get this. And that's all I've ever done. And my life is a decade of vision boards of putting things up and taking it down in my plastic baggie when things come to pass. My view, I've envisioned this. Cars, some of you don't really care about that. I don't even care about that actually. One time I did, but that was on my board. My school in Africa, the things I've done there was on my board. But the thing is, I would look at it every day, and when I didn't feel like doing anything, David, I would look at it and then I would take action, because I knew the only way I'm going to get these things or feel the experience of these things is by taking action.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. When we look at the blueprint, right? A financial blueprint, we talk about thoughts, feelings, and actions, right? And then we talk about results. You want those results. Whatever you visualize just then, again, if it's that, that special school for your child, or, the fact you can fly somewhere without looking at the price, whatever that life is. And both of us are fortunate to live that life. We both have these extraordinary lives. But the idea, though, is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. So the outer world is our results. That inner world is the thoughts, feelings, and actions, is the action itself. And most people don't take action because of fear. And I just want to leave you with this. So fear, a lot of people say, if I ask you what it means, people will say false evidence appearing real. But actually fear isn't that. The definition of fear is the anticipation of pain. The anticipation of pain. So what happens is a lot of us won't take the action because we're anticipating the pain, the rejection. And that's what we're talking about. When you get outside that comfort zone, it is fear, apprehension, doubt, and uncertainty. So it feels painful. So then understanding then as we leave this, knowing that as you're taking the action, you are going to feel uncomfortable. You are going to feel fear, apprehension, and doubt until you do it long enough to become good at it, and then it becomes more natural. But in the beginning, to cross the bridge to the results that we just talked about, we're going to have to address the fear. And the only way through it is in the action itself. With that being said, Emily, we get to do this a couple more times, which I'm so excited about, hopefully a lot more times. I just love who you are, how you are. I love your faith. I love how you express your faith with such elegance. I love your dedication to your body, to your mind, to other people, to the planet, to the industry, to the whole profession, not just inside these walls. You celebrate network marketers outside. You help them. You help people across the profession. You are a remarkable woman, as you know, and I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate you. I love you so much. Thank you for all you do. You've literally changed my life and thousands of others. There's no David Wood. There's no, like, literally, there's nobody like you, David, and I appreciate you. So thank you.
I love you. See you, everyone. Enjoy. Go to work.